Did you know that the Rohingya is a Muslim ethnic group residing in Myanmar state have decades of persecution and violence? The crisis has individually affected countries like Malaysia, which hosts over 150,000 Rohingya refugees, and Indonesia and Thailand, which provide a temporary shelters and focus on security respectively.
The Rohingya genocide involves ongoing persecution and killings beyond Myanmar's military, with the UN accusing them of genocidal intent. The situation has resulted in overcrowded refugee camps with limited resources, poor living conditions, and increased risk of disease outbreak. Well, let's find out.
Mabuhay Pilipinas! Welcome for today's episode entitled Seeking for the Solutions in the Ethnic Violence in Myanmar, the Case of the Rohingya.
Good afternoon.
Welcome to our podcast for today and say hi to our viewers.
Hi everyone. Thank you for having us.
Thank you also.
How are you, Miss Anichin and Miss Shaina?
Well, I've been doing fine this day. Thank you. It's good to see you, Ma'am and Sir. Thank you. Thank you for having us, ma'am. So, can you elaborate what really happened in the case of Rohingya?
So, to give you some background, so the Rohingya was a stateless ethnic group, predominantly Muslims, Muslims, right? So, living in the Myanmar's Rakhine state. So, this stateless ethnic group have, faced a decades of systematic persecution and violence. Right. So, and then also, this was also called in the United Nations, it was called an ethnic cleansing and even potential genocide.
This crisis is incredibly significant for everyone. It raises serious concern about regional stability, humanitarian crisis, and economic impact. ASEAN's principles on non-interference, which means respect for sovereignty of member states, is challenged here.
So, if that's the case, can I ask you a question, Miss? What's your name again? Mitch. Miss Mitch. If that's the case, how can ASEAN can be more effective support human rights protection, peace building, and humanitarian assistance?
ASEAN needs to explore and implement stronger diplomatic strategies.
That's great, actually.
This could collective advocacy, a unified stance from Asian member states on the need for human rights protections and accountability in Myanmar could carry more weight.
I definitely agree with you, Ms. Smith. Aside from that, I think there should be a collaboration with external partners. The ASEAN should continue and strengthen its collaboration, for example, in the United Nations and other international actors to leverage their resources, expertise, as well as influence in addressing the crisis of the Rohingya. Because I believe that this crisis cannot be solved without collaboration with other stakeholders, because I believe that there should be a connections with others.
Yes, that's right.
So, Miss Casey and Miss Mitch, you're trying to say the Rohingya crisis has often hindered decisive action, and this makes ASEAN appear ineffective in addressing gross human rights violations. It also leads to inconsistent policies among member states. In short, to be more effective, to support the human rights protection, peace building, and humanitarian assistance, there should be a collective advocacy and collaboration with external partners, right?
Yes, definitely correct.
Yes.
I guess that's also a great strategies, you know.
Okay. So, Miss Casey, so can you tell us about what are the specific initiatives ASEAN has taken? Are they really working or they are just
To answer that question, ASEAN has attempted to address the crisis. For example, the 5-point consensus was adopted in 2021.
oh really?
Yeah, then it is calling for the compensation for violation, because as you can see in the case of Rohingya, most women and children are abused. They are violated their rights, their right of I think.
The privilege of education for the children.
And then, however, but in the Rohingya, the implementation of this has been severely hampered by the Myanmar military, because as you can see that Myanmar is a military government, so it is ruled by the
Right.
military.
Yes.
So in short, the people has no voice to speak up what would be the needs or what would be their rights. So which this with this compliance it serves as the ASEAN that strong enforcement mechanism.
And also to add about the military country, all of the resources was focused on their national security, and then it also on the focuses all the resources of the country focus on the military resources. So the Myanmar lacks the resources are protecting the human rights, which has violated the Rohingya ethnic groups.
So, Mr. Luki, what strategies and mechanisms can you propose? And how can ASEAN be more effective?
This is only my how I propose, but I don't think if the ASEAN will adapt my proposal. So I think the ASEAN needs to find a ways to balance its principle of non-interference with the responsibility to protect human rights, because it is the unique way of running the ASEAN, the group of ASEAN. It is unique because of the non-interference, which countries cannot interfere the problem between its country. So it cannot interfere whether it's violated the human rights and everything. So this could, I think this could involve evolving the principle, you know what I mean, to allow other countries for more flexible responses. For example, the Philippines only responded to a very small amount due to this principle, which is the non-interference. This is the very biggest problem that disallowed the other countries to support the Rohingya ethnic groups. So this can also like stronger diplomatic pressure, conditional engagement with Myanmar, as what I have said, that countries should engage with the problem inside Myanmar. So a better coordination of international humanitarian aid are crucial.
So, when it comes to the impact of crisis, as we all know that there are short-term and long-term consequences.
Yes.
So, Mr. Luki, I'm asking this question. So, what are the short-term and long-term consequences for the ASEAN nations?
So as what I have searched, in the short term, we're seeing increase of refugee flows, creating a humanitarian burdens for countries like Bangladesh, Malaysia, and Indonesia. These countries are greatly affected when it comes to humanitarian because of the refugees. When the refugees go to the other countries like Bangladesh, Malaysia, and Indonesia, their rights are violated. For example, if you are a refugee, when you go to other countries, if they are trying to harass you, you have no rights because you are not in your own country. That is the biggest problem facing the Rohingya ethnic groups. So there are also heightened risk of human trafficking, as what I have said. For example, child violation, child abuses, human abuses, rapes, and slavery. That's the biggest problem when you go to another country, when you don't have rights, they will easily manipulate you to become a slave and attack you. And then when it comes to a long-term crisis, it undermines the regional security. Yes, that's the biggest, crisis that a country face when there are lots of refugees and human in their countries. And then also it disrupts trade and economic growth. By this, it really give a negative impact because when there are many refugees, some tourists hesitate to visit that one specific tourist spot because of the high risk of violence, for example. And then also, it also creates the risk of long-term social instability.
Yes, of course. So, as we all know that you are the expert of these cases, right? So, what are the rule of external action in this situation? Can you discuss us a brief discussion about the cases or anything?
The UN agencies like United Nations Human Rights Chair and IOM provides humanitarian support. International community, including European Union and US, offer financial support. The lawsuit against Myanmar at the International Court Justice highlights the international legal mechanisms.
So this crisis raises serious ethical questions for ASEAN. So Ms. Mitch, what are the moral responsibilities at stake?
Absolutely. ASEAN has moral responsibility to protect vulnerable population within its region. This failure to adequately address the Rohingya crisis damage ASEAN's credibility as responsibility regional organizations. It also raises questions about the value it places on human life and quality.
So to wrap up this segment, what are your concluding statements on the future of the Rohingya crisis and ASEAN role?
So the Rohingya crisis is defining challenge for the ASEAN, since we all know that Rohingya ethnic group are experiencing violation, torture for women and for children. So this creates a challenge for the ASEAN members. So the organization's responses will significantly shape its features, identity, and its relevance in the global stage. It needs to demonstrate leadership, courage, and commitment to its stage goals of peace, stability, and prosperity in the region. Because we all know that Rohingya ethnic groups hasn't experienced peace because of the crisis. So those goals cannot be achieved without while humanitarian crisis increases.
Yes.
That's right.
Do you agree, guys?
Yes, we all agree to that. So thank you, Miss Karil, Mr. Luki, Miss Mitch, and Miss Lunday.
Thank you so much.
That was a powerful discussion. To summarize, we've explored the devastating plight of the Rohingya, the challenges ASEAN faces in responding, and potential paths towards more effective action. It's clear that this crisis demands urgent attention and a willingness to adopt existing frameworks.
And of course, thank you to our speakers for their insightful contribution in these cases.
And thank you to our listeners for joining us today. This is Miss Anijen.
And this is Shaina.
This has been seeking for the solutions in the ethnic violence in Myanmar, the case of the Rohingya.